Big news of the day. Started out as Kyrie Irving going to visit the Phoenix Suns. Even as everybody knows, that's kind of just, a show. We know they don't have any money to sign Kyrie unless he wants to play for $3 million.
Like you said, Chris, it's June 29th. We got, you know what I mean? Everything today, take it with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah. I mean, but this I don't take with a grain of salt. The news came out this afternoon that James Harden is opting into the last year of his deal, about $35.5 million, with the Philadelphia 76ers, but it is so that they can trade him. He and the Sixers will work together on a trade. And here's what we talked earlier in the show, Martin, because the reports are that the Clippers and the Knicks are teams that are expected to engage the Sixers on talks for James Harden. The Knicks, what are you doing? Just if you call Philadelphia, ask them about Embiid, not Harden. All right. But the Clippers is where I think he'll end up. But I want to look at this from a different angle. And that angle is James Harden. And look, Martin, James Harden, if it was just about regular season play, like if there were no playoffs, it was just the regular season, you would have a hard time. It'd be only a small number of players that you would say were better than James Harden in history.
Sure.
The boy is bad in the regular season. I mean, scoring, dishing, he's nasty.
I mean, James Harden was the originator of the 40-point month. The 30-point, like not originator, I shouldn't say, but this generation's, right? Like the guy who was going and having 30 points for an entire month, right? Like he was scoring 30 points a game. He's averaged 40 points a game in a month. You know what I'm saying? In a 30-day period.
Had a few years where he averaged 30
that's what
plus points.
Yeah, of my generation, I should say.
Yeah.
Not he didn't start it, but.
Yeah, so he is an awesome player. But obviously his performance in big games in the playoffs has been an issue. But also, dude, I mean, did you see? I know you saw this movie, Above the Rim.
Of course. And
Leon, friend of the show, the great Leon Robinson, actor who's been on the show with us. He was a great basketball player. He went to Loyola Marymount to play ball before he got into acting. And if you remember, he was dating the star players. Dwayne Martin was the star. And Leon was dating his mother, right? Mm-hmm. But Leon had issues. I can't remember his name in the movie. But he had issues and, he just would bail when the going got tough. And the mother finally was like, look, we're done. You're not reliable. I can't count on you. She said, you're a runner. You're a runner. James Harden is a runner. I understood Houston. Now, the way you ran wasn't right. Just tanking on a team. You didn't just sit out. You didn't just demand a trade and wait for him to trade you. You demanded the trade, and then when you saw that they were twiddling their thumbs, you just started playing really bad basketball for your level, right? So he quit on the Rockets. And then he goes to the Brooklyn Nets. And look, I get it. I mean, Kyrie was exasperating, and that's Kyrie's choice. I have family members that didn't get vaccinated, so I'm not like ripping him for that. But it hurts your basketball team. There's no doubt about that. And James Harden was upset about that, but he ran. I mean, heck, Martin, he still had KD. It wasn't like without Kyrie, they were junk. He still had Kevin Durant, but he ran. And now, this is what I don't understand. Okay, you already are on a team that has a chance to win a championship. Am I picking him if he were to stay? No. Is anybody picking him? Not likely, but a lot of it's because of Harden. Most of it's because of Harden. Now, Embiid's not blameless. He has not shown up like he should in the playoffs either. But if Harden would be Harden in the playoffs, if regular season James would show up in the playoffs, then they could win a championship. And so you're running again rather than stick it out, rather than fight. You know what's on my TV, and I don't hear it, but it's on The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, one reason people love him, Muhammad Ali, the GOAT in boxing in many people's eyes. One reason people love him is because when the going got tough, they were at their best. Ali wasn't supposed to be George Foreman, but he rose to the occasion. Michael Jordan wasn't supposed to be able to create a dynasty as a two-guard, but he rose to the occasion. When Detroit was beating him up, you know this, you from there. He rose to the occasion. James Harden is running. What? You're running from Joel freaking Embiid. What more do you need? Martin, if I was a star point guard, you know what I would want more than anything else? A great big man.
Sure.
And you've got one of the greatest big men in the league of this era. And you got quality role players. Why are you looking for another situation?
Look, Chris, I'm gonna update your above the rim reference. He's a runner. He's a track star. He's going to run away when it gets hard. That song came out 2 years ago, and it could have been about James Harden. Because the fact of the matter is, you know, me and James Harden are about the same age, right? We came up in about this. I'm not saying we came up together by any stretch,
right? But
we're about the same age, so I feel like we're at similar stages of life. And I'll be honest, some of the life moves that he's made, like some of the partying with little babies, he looks like he's having a blast, right? Having so much fun. Like there was this one picture, he called up a Goyard case that the little baby gave to him when he was still a member of the Nets. So I just remember people were dogging him, and I was like, bro, I'm sorry. He looks like he's having so much fun, and it's like the level of fun that I would like to have too. But the fact of the matter is, see, Chris, when you get to about my age, about 33 to 35 years old, and you kind of get into a boat, right? Some people have trouble attracting members of the opposites or attracting people who they want to be with or whatever. Some people don't, right? But what happens once you get to like 30, 33, 35, at least around some of the people that I've been around, it starts to become, oh man, well, you know what? She texts me too much, so I had to get rid of that. You know, she did this and I had to get rid of that. Or she did this, and now you on 4 or 5 different situations, and at 33, 34 years old, you looking back like, oh, well, you know, she ain't this, she ain't that. Bruh, it's you. You are the common denominator through all of your relationships. Right. There's only one. It's you. Right? My daddy, when he was still dating after my mother passed away, he was dating. He went up to a woman and he asked her number and so on. And she said, you know what? I can't give you my number. I don't want to, I'm not interested in that. And he was like, all right. They had a good conversation. He wasn't about to trip about it. But she said to him, I only date members of my race. Now, he asked her how many times she'd been divorced. She said 4 times. Right? Maybe you want to mix something up. Right? Maybe you should have stuck with it, right? Because clearly you're doing something wrong, right? Clearly James Harden is doing something wrong in regards to his postseason, whether or not it be conditioning, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it professionalism because to me it seems as if it should be part of what defines it as professionalism. Are you in shape? Are you able to go when you need to go? And so I just don't see. James Harden is who he is at this point, right? He is who he is at this point. And either he enjoys taking vacation in early June, late May, or he just can't get to that point because he doesn't have the ability as a player. If you're counting on James Harden to be there in a conference final, in a final, hell, even in the second round, Good luck, because it's not happening. So for me at this point, you can put them wherever you want. You can put them here, you can put them there. It's still going to be the same ingredient in the stew. I don't see it happening in this scenario unless, of course, you're walking into somewhere, he's coming in, mid-level exception, veteran minimum type thing, and he is legitimately just a pass first point guard, because he is still one of the best eyes in terms of moving the ball that I see in the league. But his explosiveness, his offensive game, his jump shot, his step back, it's not what it used to be, but he can still pass that ball, Chris.
It's still good enough where if he just played as well as he can in the playoffs. And look, I get it that guys have bad games. Everybody's had a bad playoff game. We're not killing him for that. But it feels like he shrinks. I heard something today on the radio. We all know that in games 6 and 7, now game 5, he had 45 points against Boston second round.
Yep.
And they went up 3-2 going home. And in the last 2 games, they only had to win one. Last 2 games, he has 10 turnovers, averages 11 points, shoots 1 of 11 from the field, 20 from 3, 26% from the field overall.
Whew, 26%.
26%. And he just didn't get it done in the big moments. And what I heard on the radio today was that in games 5, 6, and 7 of that series, he scored 0 points in the fourth quarters.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like he shrinks. If you're going to have a bad game, I want you to go down swinging. And I just, look, maybe money's a factor. I mean, look, are the Clippers willing? I'm sure Philadelphia's willing to give him big money. Now, maybe it wasn't a full 4-year max. And maybe that's what he's upset about. But are the Clippers willing to give him that? They'd be crazy if they're willing to give him a full 4-year max. Is anybody willing to do that? So I don't know if money, it probably has something to do with it. But my thing is, I'm sure the money's big in Philly too. If you're a point guard and you don't want to play with Joel Embiid and have good role players around you, like Martin, what are you looking for? If you claim you want to win, how you getting in a better situation?
And I'm saying, Chris, maybe that's part of you say you want to win. Maybe we're just looking at another Dame Lillard. I know it's hard to see because of the way that Dame has moved Dame has not moved from place to place to place, and so it's easier to put the shortcomings that have been around him, especially when you look at his postseason, and he's had some of those moments where he kind of
he's had seasons. Some bad moments too, though.
Right, but he's ended postseason runs. Like the one that pops in my head right now is Paul George saying he still thinks that was a bad shot that Dame Lillard took and sent him home on, but maybe it's that type of scenario. It's like, I'd like to win. It would be great. Michigan football for the longest time, they would like to win, but they're not going to invest the money that Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia are investing in. They want to win, but on their terms and in their way, which means you don't want to win at all costs, which is something, that's what we look for and expect a lot of most athletes within reason, that you would do whatever you can in your career to try to ensure that you win. But,
I'll say this, Martin, and we talked earlier about this potential, we just throwing it out, but a Clippers deal where the Clippers basically gave them a package built around Terrence Mann and Norman Powell. And then Harden went to the Clippers. There'd be more thrown in there to make it work salary-wise. Sure. I got to be honest. I don't think Philly might not be any worse. I really, because if Harden went back there, I wouldn't be thinking they're going to win the East.
No.
I wouldn't be thinking they're as good as Boston, Philadelphia, or Milwaukee, and maybe Miami. And so if they do make a trade like that, they're still probably in about the same spot, the 4th best team in the East.
I think so. But the thing I would think, if I'm the Clippers, I like Terrence Mann. I think Terrence Mann should get more minutes in Los Angeles.
Well, I agree. I like him. I think, again, you wouldn't have that star But between Tyrese Maxey, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Tobias Harris, I mean, that's a nice group of players right there.
It's because your star is the one guy you didn't name. So it's all eyes on him.
I mean, your second star, you wouldn't have your second star.
Right.
But maybe Maxey would grow into that. I'm just saying, like, this isn't the worst thing for Philadelphia.
No, but it's just a bad look for James Harden at this point.
Right.
It's a bad look at this point. You did the whole fat suit thing to get out of Houston. Now I get the Kyrie thing, but at a certain point, maybe it's you, bro. Maybe it's you.